Hello?
Hi! Nakatangilid ka, Alfie.
On air na ba tayo?
Parang wala pa yata eh. Alfie, nakatangilid ka.
Sino to? Chai?
Yes, it's me.
Sige.
Si Alfie nakatagilid. Teka.
Wait, dapat ba ganun ako?
On air na daw pala tayo. Hello, guys!
Hello.
Nandito na naman po tayo sa ating DAKILA hour dito sa Mamatay ng Hayup na COVID ka. And we are live 24/7, April 4 hanggang April 14. And remind ko lang yung mga tao to put in their donations. Send in your donations. Yung link kung paano kayo pwede mag-donate is nakapin lang naman siya sa comment section. Mention lang natin yung mga beneficiaries natin, no? We are raising funds for RITM, UPNIH, Philippine Genome Center, at Lung Center. Tulungan po natin ang ating mga frontliners as they defend us from COVID-19. Hello. Today is Thursday. Thursday na pala, no? Hello, guys.
Ayan, Chai, sino pang makakasama natin ngayon, Chai?
Yun nga. Eto na. Pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay tungkol sa Araw ng Kagitingan. At kung saan ito nanggaling, anong ibig sabihin nito noon, anong ibig sabihin nito ngayon. And our guests for today, meron tayong dalawang mga kasama ngayon. June, isa siyang public historian. He is also a professor at De La Salle University. Co-author din siya ng librong Bayani Biographies, Andres Bonifacio. Ito po si Xiao Chua. Hello, Xiao. Say hi to everybody.
Palakpakan naman tayo dyan.
Makasaysayang hapon po sa inyo, lahing dakila.
Hello, guys. Okay, so next na guest natin, isa siyang spoken word artist and poet. And he has been published or will soon be published sa Likhaan, sa Asian Journal, Cordite Poetry Review, and Voice and Verse Poetry Magazine. You can, anong tawag nito? I'm sure some of you have already heard him perform his poetry. You've read him also on online and even on Twitter where he shares his poetry. This is Alfonso Manalastas. Hello, Alfie.
Hello po. Hi, Chai.
Hey.
Hi, June.
Ayun. So ngayon ay araw nga ng Kagitingan. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng Kagitingan, guys, para sa inyo? What is that exactly?
Well, for me, pag sinabi mong magiting, kasi merong katapangan, 'di ba? Bravery. Pero iba yung valor eh. Iba yung valor. Pag sinabi mong valor, mayroong purpose. Kasi pwedeng matapang ka lang, pero walang purpose. Pero kung magiting ka, may purpose yung iyong pagiging matapang. So I think yun ang interpretation ko sa kagitingan. Si Ponzi kaya.
I guess more or less the same. I feel like kasi when we talk about bravery, it's not just a matter of what we're willing to risk. For example, so feeling ko bravery, I think in the context of how much we are capable of and how much of that capacity we're willing to sort of push even further. In the context at least of like nationhood, in the context of selfhood, that's still for nation.
Ayun. Did you
Kaya
get...
nga bayan kang magiting.
Ayun. Ayun, naririnig ko na kayo. Medyo naputol ako dito. Ayun. So speaking of, yun nga, kagitingan, ang daming nag-exemplify ng kagitingan, especially ngayong panahon ng COVID ngayon, no? So napapanahon din na we're talking about this, not just because it's Araw ng Kagitingan. Pero ano ba bakit natin sineselebrate ang Araw ng Kagitingan?
Well, basically, Chai, at sa lahat ng ating mga nakikinig, yung Araw ng Kagitingan kasi, we're commemorating actually what we call the Fall of Bataan, April 9. Okay? So very briefly, alam natin yung nangyari dyan na nung sinakop tayo ng mga Hapones, the Americans felt that the Filipino soldiers alone, which were trained under ROTC, so these are not just purely military men, but ordinary people na nag-training at ngayon na ilalaban, hindi sapat yung ating kakayahan, kaya lahat ng puwersa by January, so December, yung Pearl Harbor ay sinalakay din tayo ng Hapones dinala ngayon sa Bataan yung lahat ng puwersa natin. So, this is, kahit na masakop ang maraming areas sa Pilipinas by air, the capital of the Philippines, which is Manila, hindi maipapasok yung full supplies at full equipment nila dyan kasi haharangin natin sila sa Bataan and Corregidor. Kasi Bataan yung basically, yun yung ano natin, yun yung parang harang, no? Bunganga siya ng Manila Bay. So the good thing about the story of the Battle of Bataan, ang tawag natin diyan, was that by January, almost all of Southeast Asia ay nasakop na ng mga Hapones. Pero tayo, nakatayo pa rin yung Bataan. Our soldiers kept on fighting. And hindi makapasok. Maraming battles ang ginanap. Hindi makapasok ang mga Hapones. And that's why talagang hinangaan tayo ng mundo. But of course, they were being promised na may gamot, may mga darating na supplies, bala, kasi nauubusan na tayo. The problem was, the Americans cannot enter anymore, and they decided we cannot have a war with in Europe and Asia. Sa Europe na lang muna tayo, at doon na lang natin ibigay muna yung supplies. So parang naiwan tayo sa ere. And what happened was, nung naiwan tayo sa ere, nag-reinforce ang mga Hapones, and they suddenly outnumber na nila tayo, hanggang yung mga, alam mo, ito yung Giting ito yung Giting Chai, at saka Alfonso. Pag nakita mo yung Mount Samat, yung kung saan nandun yung cross ngayon, bundok yan, at dyan mo makikita yung Bataan, kung paano mo makikita yun na may mga Hapones dyan na papunta. Wala nang bala yung mga soldiers natin, naghuhulog na lang ng boulders. So that's what happened there, na yung mga bato, hindi wala nang bala, yun ang para ipagulong na lang sa mga Hapones. That was very sad, And April 9, the Filipinos said, we will not surrender. Yung ayaw sumurrender ng mga Pinoy, sabi ng mga Kano, hindi surrender na tayo. So the Americans surrendered. And remember, there were 12,000 Americans that were rounded up, 75,000 Filipinos. And it was a logistical problem. Paano natin isasakay ito papuntang Capas Tarlac? Ayun, pinaglakad po sila. So in the heat of the April sun, lumakad po yung ating mga veterano at pinasakay sila sa San Fernando, Pampanga ng mabahong tren at masikip papunta sa Capas. Then lumakad ulit ng another 12 kilometers. There are about 100 kilometers that they walk, and that is what we call the Death March. So kahit na yung fall of Bataan ay pagkatalo, it exemplified na hindi yan yung katapusan ng gera. No? Una, we were the last to stand against the Japanese. 3 months tayong na-delay, and that's why hinangaan tayo ng mundo, kaya Giting ang emphasis. Hindi na yung pagkatalo. Dati kasi Bataan Day yan. Pero pinalitan na yan ng Araw ng Kagitingan para hindi ma-focus dun sa pagkatalo yung ating pag-stand. And of course, after 3 years, matatalo na natin yung mga Hapones with the guerrilla movement, and of course, kasama yung help ng mga Americans, ay natalo natin ng mga Hapones. And, yun nga a great enemy we were able to defeat, because of our Kagitingan and our diskarte. Kaya, yun yung kwento ng Araw ng Kagitingan. So, sinasama na rin, pati yung mga Battle of Mactan, lahat ng mga magigiting natin na moment sa kasaysayan, inaalala din natin sa panahon na ito.
Ayun, that's very insightful regarding the word giting, the difference between giting and tapang, especially for me na, well, I'm Cebuano and I'm not very particular about Tagalog words. It's very insightful for me kung yung choice of words and what the differences are between all of them. Now, and do you guys think that the Filipino has a particular brand of or a particular way of showing their courage and bravery and yung giting na tinatawag natin?
Okay, personally, I think yes, because we have a very unique history of oppression. Like, for example, we think of bravery as this blanket thing that can encompass any version of struggle, any version of oppression. But I think what makes us unique is because we have always been on the receiving end of this history of colonialism, for example, with various different global superpowers trying to overtake us. And so I think bravery, because in that history as well, we never really quite won, in a sense. We were never able to fully, unlike, for example, Vietnam, where historically they are known to have defeated the United States, for example. The Philippines never uh, quite landed the same track record among any of its colonizers. And so I feel like bravery has taken on a different form for us. It's not just a matter of us being able to overpower our enemies and be brave enough to be able to sort of sort of conquer our oppressors. Bravery for us is more resilience. Bravery for us is more adapting to these oppressive circumstances. So nagiging ganun.
Right.
Yun yung unique to us.
Ang ganda nung sinabi ni Alfie, ano, yung creative resistance, no, na kung sino yung enemy mo, hindi pare-pareho yung way mo ng paggawa ng resistance. Kaya nagiging creative, lumalabas ang pagkamagaling ng Pilipino. Kita rin natin yan nung sa struggle against the dictatorship noong 1970s hanggang 1986.
Ayun. Hello, teka lang, medyo napuputol kayo dito sa akin. Hello, ayun, okay. Sorry, medyo weird yung signal ko. But that's very, I'm sure that's very insightful for yung mga nag-tune in ngayon. Guys, kung nag-tune in kayo ngayon lang, ito po ang Dakila Hour for Mamatay Kang Hayup na COVID ka. Donate po kayo. Paano kayo makaka-donate? Nasa comment section po, nakapin. Donate po kayo, please. Kailangan na po natin ng tulong ng ating mga magigiting na mga frontliners, and we are talking about Araw ng Kagitingan if you just tuned in. So we already touched on the creativity, yung parang creative na resilience, no? Creative na what do you call this? Fighting through creative means. So ano ba yung mga nagawa noon in terms of creative means of facing struggles?
Alam mo, I also remember today, 'di ba, Chai, Alfie,
Yeah.
na Good Friday tomorrow, ngayon ay mahal na araw, ano? No, remember that Andres Bonifacio was a theater actor. And
Right.
ito dito mo makikita, again, no, I have to re-emphasize this, ladies and gentlemen, na wag ho nating mamaliitin ang artists, poets, musicians sa role natin sa pagbubuo ng bansa. Kasi yung artists, a lot of our heroes who built our nation are artists. Jose Rizal was a novelist and a poet. Juan Luna was a painter. Andres Bonifacio was also a poet. Emilio Jacinto was also a poet. These people are artists. And talagang ang art at ang struggle for freedom ay laging magkasama yan, hindi naghihiwalay. So, but one interesting thing about Bonifacio was that he was a theater actor, a thespian, and the favorite character niya ay si Bernardo Carpio. Now, what they did was, yung Bernardo Carpio story, ginawa nilang based sa, kasi Spanish story yan eh, ginawa nilang based sa Tagalog, and then pinakita nila na si Bernardo Carpio daw, a superhero, na ililigtas sa Tagalog. At kung makakalaya siya dun sa bundok, na kung saan siya nakulong, 2 bundok. And the funny thing was, people believe that was in Montalban, in Rodriguez ngayon, na Rizal, yung Pamitinan Cave. So what Bonifacio did was one Good Friday in 1895, doon niya pinapunta niya doon yung mga members ng Katipunan at doon sila nag-excursion, and they talked about Bernardo Carpio through going to Montalban. So imaginein mo, field trip, pero may kasamang struggle, di ba? And naglakaran. And again, remember that the journey, the lakaran, is always part of our one faith. Dahil yung pagpag-alay lakad, processions, di ba? Yung Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And also, if you're going to look at it, Good Friday was also symbolic because that was the time that Jesus sacrificed his life for the sins of the world in the Christian worldview. And remember that in the Tagalog region at that time, Christian ng worldview ng mga tao. So, Andres Bonifacio creatively used the Christian worldview of the Tagalogs and the folklore, and he's being a theater actor. and educated the people in such a way na maiintindihan nila yung meaning ng sacrifice na gagawin nila if they're going to fight for the country. So, yan ang napakagandang mensahe sa atin ng Araw ng Kagitingan na hindi lang bumabaril ka, yun na yung kagitingan, no? Pumapatay ka. Hindi lang na exemplify doon sa pagpatay yung katapangan, 'di ba? Kundi ito ay sa iba't ibang creative ways.
Alfie, you have anything? Yeah, Kang.
Sorry, if I may add, also feeling ko kasi we have this weird perception of what art is, at least in a contemporary sense. Like for example, I feel like we should stop. This is a discussion as well that I've had with a lot of my writer friends, especially now where we're confronted by this whole notion of poetry being something so useless in a time where people need practical things like food security and economic security. So what can poetry do but offer some beauty to middle class lives and not even to the poor, not even to the ones who are most in need of beauty, diba? To make life worth livable and whatnot. Pero feeling ko kasi para naging I think pinaka substantial conclusion namin collectively was that we shouldn't overvalorize what poetry can do, but we also shouldn't overburden it. And in any case, poets or art in general are, are multidimensional beings. We're not just poets, for example. And while we cannot overvalorize it and assume that it alone can save the world, at the same time, we cannot overburden it and assume it could be able to. Poets are not just poets. Like if you go to mobs, for example, I see artists of all sorts taking it to the streets. I see some of my favorite musicians, some of my favorite filmmakers, trying to exhaust their grievances in various alternative means other than creative pursuits and, beautifying the world. We also want to manifest our anger in non-beautiful ways, if that makes sense. So, I think it's important to understand that these are people first and foremost, and people are complex and are capable of doing many things at the same time.
June.
I think the important thing, Chai, before saglit lang, I think the important thing, Chai, is to always be with the people. In whatever way you do your struggle, wag mo kakalimutan ng bayan. Hindi ka hiwalay sa kanila, no? Hindi ka dapat lumutang dun sa existence mo lang.
That's very beautiful. Like you cannot be you cannot separate yourself from, kahit balik-baliktarin mo, you're still very much interwoven with the society that you thrive in and that you live in. So you hindi mo talaga mapaseparate yung sarili mo. Gusto ko tanungin si June. June, are you there?
Okay, nandito lang ako. Nag-off camera lang ako. Sige lang, tuloy lang.
June, what do you think about yung mga ano ba yung mga alam mong creative ways ng anong tawag nito? Creative ways in na pag-participate in facing struggle.
Sandali lang. Yung ngayon ba or sa future? Parang ganun pa?
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Maybe how do you see people how do you see people struggle creatively go through their struggle, or how do you think magiging creatively express yung pagiging magiting ng mga tao, especially pagkatapos ng COVID ngayon, especially sa sitwasyon ngayon na nasa bahay lang tayo. I'm sure pagkatapos ng lahat ng ito, mag-iiba yung ways of living natin, yung storytelling natin, yung art natin, mag-iiba din. What do you think? How do you think it's going to change in the future?
Ito na yung future, no? Ito, isang tong way yung ginagawa natin itong 24 hours na to. Tapos meron din sa Vival, di ba? Kayo, Xiao, meron din kayong ginagawa na ganito, di ba? Hello?
Yung mga lecture. Yeah, yung mga lecture. Nakagating nga eh.
Napaka-importante ng napaka-importante ng technology ngayon. Ito na yung ginagamit ng lahat ng tao. Ito na yung
ginagamit natin. Ito rin parang pwede rin magkaroon ng discussion. Pero dapat medyo maingat din tayo kasi pwede rin magkaroon ng yung sa mga artists, no? Pwede rin paano ko mapapaliwanag na hindi kasi pwede rin itong magsimula ng parang anarkiya, no? Kaya medyo maingat din tayo na hindi rin basta-basta ka rin ng matinding damdamin, etc., etc., no? Kasi bilang artist, responsibilidad mo pa rin yung kung ano yung pwedeng mangyari din sa paligid mo, eh. Kasi pwedeng para kang bomba, pwedeng ikaw yung magsimula din ng isa ka sa dahilan kung ba't magsisimula din ng lahat, no? Parang ganun siguro, no?
That's true, that's true. Dagdag ko lang din dun sa yung mga mention nila Xiao kanina regarding the role of artists. I think never siyang mawawala because for the longest time, ever since nung panahon pa ng mga Neanderthal, mga caveman, di ba? Everybody started gathering around the bonfires to talk about, oh, today a buffalo chased me. So napaka-intrinsic na sa atin ng storytelling, and especially during dire times. I think one of the responsibilities of artists is to survive and live to tell the tale for the rest of the other generations to learn from. Tayo yung parang tayo yung documentarists din of some sort ng humanity. I think I would dare say it's a human responsibility to tell stories, especially during very crucial moments in history, such as now. Diba? Yes,
for
go ahead.
For example, Chai, yung pagka-lockdown agad, na agad yung mga artists, eh. Gumalaw na agad yung mga artists, eh, no? So, sila rin yun agad na, shit, walang PPEs, gawa na agad yan. Meron ako ditong tarpaulin, yung sa Black Maria may ginagawa sila, tuloy-tuloy lang yung Black Maria Cinema. Kasi yung iba, yung mga fashion designer, na agad sila, nagtahi na agad sila. Yung mga poets, musician, lahat-lahat, na agad ng mga mga pondo, yung mga artist na mga painter, na agad, meron na agad, parang may nakita ko, 2 milyon para sa mga frontliners, etc. No? So, ang ganda ng mga nangyayari, no? So, ito yung kahalagahan din ng mga artist sa lipunan, no?
Also, can I add something?
Go ahead.
We also have this history of artists tending to, to stepping up in extraordinary circumstances, often in authoritarian frameworks. For example, like during the martial law, when and this is something I think I've discussed with a few of you already in the past. Na parang during the martial law, for example, you had also simultaneously the golden era of Philippine cinema with the Ishmael Bernals and the Lino Brocas of the world, not only creating beautiful films, but being able to smuggle political commentary into those beautiful films that do not seem, at least from a placid and based on face value, that do not seem political, but they still are, and they are sometimes, I think, even in its ability to omit its opinion, it's in art's ability to withhold opinion. It's still very political because sometimes in dire situations, in extraordinary circumstances like this, where people are just in search of something utopian that's disparate from the existing reality, parang nagiging escapist din yung attempt ng art, and even escapism in art is political. So I think there is value, I think, in artists, in how it tethers us to our humanity, how it demands humanity from people during extraordinary situations like this.
Yeah, that's very insight. Yes, I actually wala na ako madadagdag doon. Ayun na yun. Sige, tapos na po tayo. Joke. Joke lang.
Kung may tanong kayo, kung may tanong kayo, magtanong lang kayo, no, sa mga page na kung saan nyo to napapanood.
Oo, actually, andun sa comment section lang din yung how to donate. At saka, yes, like gaya ng sinabi ni June, just bato nyo lang yung mga tanong nyo. Dito si Xiao at si Alfonso Manalastas upang i-discuss yung i-discuss yung mga ideas ninyo or mga insights that you may want to expound on regarding Araw ng Kagitingan. Xiao, tanong ko lang, kailan ba
Yes.
or did I miss it kanina because I was kind of medyo nagmumultitask ako dito eh. Tinitingnan ko yung chat group ng
No
ng ating
problem.
mga moderators. Na-mention mo ba kanina kung kailan na-establish yung April 9 is araw ng Kagitingan na holiday?
Well, actually, kailangan kong i-consult si Mr. Google kasi hindi ko to napag-aralan, ano. Hindi, pero kasi even before Marcos time, ito ay Bataan Day ang tawag nila, no? But eventually, of course, yeah. Ito, no. 1961, a Congress passed Republic Act 3022 declaring April 9 as Bataan Day. But in 1987, panahon na pala ni Tita Cory, ito ay tinawag na Araw ng Kagitingan. So pinagsama na yung Bataan Day and Corregidor Day. And Chai, sabihin ko lang, no, napakahalaga nito. Yeah, napakahalaga nitong insight ko while I was being interviewed in a Quezon Province radio earlier, na nagdawn lang sa akin na nung Fall of Bataan saka nung World War II, ang mga unang nagbuwis ng buhay ay mga kabo at saka mga sundalo, mga kawal. 'Di ba? Kasi sila naman yung mga general, sila yung nag-uutos, 'di ba? Pero yung mga kabo, sila yung mga unang namamatay. Pero ang napaka-poignant sa atin kasi again, we have to emphasize that the COVID-19 lockdown is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest challenge we ever faced since World War II. Kasi kahit Yolanda pa yung usapan sa kalamidad o kahit napakalaking lindol, is concentrated to certain areas of the country. But today, we have to feed, kahit walang kalamidad, we have to feed the poor because of the lockdown. And so, di ba, parang ngayon natin iniisip na ibenta iniisip ng presidente, gobyerno, ibenta yung ibang mga assets natin. Ganun kalaki yung crisis, no? So, ang unang namatay, ang unang nagbuwis ng buhay, yung mga general ng ating laban sa COVID-19, yung mga doktor. And I think there's more than 20 doctors who already died. Sila yung mga unang nabuwal. Sila dapat yung mga general. Sila dapat yung mga utak na hindi na unang namatay. Pero sila yung unang nagbuwis ng buhay. So, telling sa akin yun na it is very important that we do mass testing, no? As appropriate. It is very important that we help them with the PPEs, that you donate in any way. You donate to our Telethon, na mamatay kang hayop na COVID ka, o yung in English, die you COVID beast, no? And the joke, die COVID die, ano? Please donate. Kasi the more that we can test people, the more we can isolate them, the more nagagaling sila, 'di ba? At the more na sila ay magkakaroon tayo ng we can go back to our normal lives very tawag dito, very hindi swiftly but very slowly but surely, no? So again, it is an act of heroism. Hindi naman of course na magpakabayani o maging sikat, no? But the way to be a hero now is number 1, stay at home if you can. Stay at home, please. And number 2, while at home, you can donate through the Telethon and help in the yung ating mga test kits and all of that, no? So kaya napakahalaga nung ginagawa natin ngayon.
Yes, definitely. I agree, Xiao. And that is a form of that's a form of modern heroism na ngayon, which is yun din ang sinabi ni Xiao kanina. Let's talk about modern heroism. And let's dive a little deeper into that. Kasi ang nakikita ko sa social media is wala, puro bangayan, speaking out or away or basta maingay siya. But in terms of modern heroism, and now is the time to actually be a hero. Apart from yung mga na-mention mo kanina, Xiao, to stay at home and to donate as much as you can, help each other out. Ano ba yung iba pang naiisip natin na paraan para maging modern heroes tayo, maging modern na bang mga bayani tayo kahit sa napakamaliliit na paraan? And why are these small acts very important? How does this affect everybody? Let's just dive a little deeper na lang into that.
Okay lang.
Yeah, go ahead, Alfie. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Alfie.
A little bit lang, na feeling ko, now more than ever, we need to remain critical over the power that we've granted certain institutions, because we are in very circumstances, and I think there is a general consensus, even among those who are critical of those powers, that they are necessary. But you also have to be able to make sure that those powers are not are within the context of their necessity, of what necessitates them, rather than lead into some form of abuses. And I think there is heroism in that, because also COVID-19 is only one of many things that are going on right now. In that we have certain people in certain institutions, for example, who are trying to stifle public opinion, trying to stifle criticism, trying to stifle dissent through legitimate institutional punitive legal ways. And I think that's very dangerous.
Wow.
And so I think we should remain critical. And I think there is heroism in remaining critical, especially knowing that that to be critical comes with a threat. Why is being critical important? Because criticism fuels social pressure, and social pressure ultimately forces those in power to act in accordance to the best interests of the people. And I think that's always important in any context.
Yes, Xiao. Go
And
ahead.
tama si Alfie doon, ano? Tama si Alfie kasi I mean everyone knows that I'm a critic of the Duterte government, ano? But what we did was nung tayo ay nagrereklamo about certain lapses of judgment by the whole institution itself, the government, merong time na nakinig din sila at some point and they were revising their ways. So dito mo makikita the power of our public pressure, that if you want this government to succeed, again, remember, we have only one government, and if this government fails in tackling this disease, todas ang napakarami sa atin dito. So yun ang natin na our criticism of the government is our way of in a way supporting them. Because I think we have ideas. Hindi lang naman ito puro reklamo eh. We have solutions in mind. Our best minds are here. The people are telling us what to do. So kung may maganda kang idea dyan, pulutin mo. So nakakagulo lang yung medyo, yun na nga eh, yung pinag-aawa yung human rights. Kasi parang sinasabi nila, wag muna nating pag-usapan yung human rights ngayong crisis. Dahil yung human rights parang parang sagabal. Ganito yung naririnig ko sa ibang government officials. And I think nami-misunderstand natin na when we tell people to stay at home, we are actually protecting their human rights to live. We do not have to say na hindi dapat i-uphold ang human rights now. That's a very dangerous concept. And also, hindi como crisis tayo ngayon that yung human rights natin, yung ating mga karapatan natin ating isusuko na agad. Kasi nga ang mangyayari lang diyan, imbis na nagkakaisa tayo, kapag may mga human rights violations, lalo tayong nahahati. Dapat itigil natin yung ganon na pagkakahati. Kasi kapag tinigil natin yon, I think mas magiging cohesive ang ating paglaban dito at mas lalo tayong nagiging mas united in tackling this. Kasi nagiging parang distractions lang yung mga ganyang issue dahil unnecessary talaga. Unnecessary.
Also, may I add, I think it was the World Health Organization who declared fundamental human rights integral in flattening the curve, and I forgot exactly how. They had a sophisticated discussion about it. I'll try to find it and maybe send it to you guys, maybe post it in the comment section. But I know that they were able to adequately discuss how human rights and the preservation of human rights are important in the fight against the pandemic. How I think this leads into this discussion on how human rights will always be non-negotiable. I mean, no matter what the circumstances are, human rights are not up for debate, so to speak. Na parang, for example, in our fight for the preservation of life in the context of a global healthcare crisis, it still coalesces with this whole demand and desire and clamor to protect human rights. Diba? So I think they're not at odds, basically. They're supposed to be able to work together in a
Ano yon?
no, I was talking about how it's important for that how human rights is non-negotiable. That human rights, especially in times of crisis like the one we're in right now, is supposed to be able to coalesce with all these existing public policies that demand for the protection of human life. Because at the end of the day, both are the goal of all of these policies that seek to protect humanity, and human rights is the same. It's basically to protect people. And so they shouldn't
Right.
be at odds.
True.
Ayun. Speaking of,
Chai,
speaking,
Chai,
ay, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. No,
Last
go
na
ahead,
lang,
go ahead.
Chai, last na lang,
No, go ahead.
remember that in China, freedom of expression, of course, is a human right, ano?
I was gonna
And
touch on that.
remember
Go.
that when nag-stifle sila ng freedom of expression nung pinigilan nung China yung Chinese government yung doctor to expose the coronavirus. So kung hindi nila ginawa yun, we could have been earlier in tackling the coronavirus. Remember that freedom of information now of how to deal with the situation, and ito ay nire-release ng gobyerno, ng mga agencies natin, no? Yan ay napakahalaga kasi mukhang sa US doon sila nagkukulang. Walang masyadong mga public information kung anong gagawin mo pag ikaw ay nagkasakit, ikaw ay ano ang dapat gawin sa social distancing. So parang bababay. So the public's freedom of information and freedom of expression is actually will save people from this pandemic. Yan ang dapat nating perspective dyan.
Ayun, may tanong lang ako, Chai.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nung panahon din ba dati, yung sa Bataan, paano ba na ano yung mga sa human rights nun? Nung mga yan?
Okay.
Siyempre, gera yun, di ba?
Napakahalagang tanong yan, ano? Kasi remember that even in the times of, shall we say, war situations, meron tayong tinatawag na Geneva Convention. And Geneva Convention sets na how do you treat war prisoners. So, syempre, when you're combatants, pag ikaw ay naglalabanan kayo, syempre, barilan yan. Talagang patayan yan. Pero, once na yung kalaban mo ay sumuko at wala ng laban, hindi mo siya pwedeng saktan. Pag tinaas na niya yung kamay niya, hindi mo siya pwedeng saktan. Kailangan mo siyang kunin as a prisoner of war and ikulong mo siya or i-detain mo siya with humane, what you call this, humane standards. So again, when two countries go to war, they should observe what we call the Geneva Convention. Ngayon, ano? Noon may mga sinusunod din sila. But what happened was, alam natin na yung mga Japanese, they were really bent on destroying people at that time. So kahit sumusuko na, pinahihirapan nila, yung doon sa Kapas Tarlac, yung sa Camp O'Donnell, talagang napaka-inhumane ng conditions ng mga selda, ng mga pinagkulungan sa kanila. At actually, mas mahirap pa yung naranasan ng mga tao sa Camp O'Donnell kaysa doon sa paglalakad ng 100 kilometro because they were dying of sickness, cramped in a room for 100 people, 200 sila, at nagpasa-pasa na yung mga malaria, beriberi, and all of those sicknesses. That when they were burying people, from sunrise to sundown, yun yung sabi ng mga tao sa Bataan noon ng mga fighters ng Bataan na sa Kapas, naglilibing sila hanggang takip silim ng mga patay. So, we cannot allow that to happen. And yeah, again, that's why even in the extreme times of war, Tito Jun Sabayton, ang pogi-pogi nating Jun Sabayton, apaganda ng picture na yan, ano? Even in the times of war, ladies and gentlemen, human rights are being observed. And hindi dapat yan exempt in the time of pandemic when we really, what is needed is for people to be calm. Dahil kapag may mga human rights violation, syempre may mga umaalma at lalong magagalit yung mga tao.
Yun. That
Also,
sheds light on human.
ng konti.
Yes, go.
Parang to parallelize lang siguro with today, I think, for
Mm.
example, people are all about, at least this comes from a largely upper class perspective na people should really stay at home without contextualizing the reason why they don't stay at home to begin with. And I think with human rights, for example, at least when we provide basic needs to people such as access to running water, access to food, access to medication, access to all their basic necessities, it automatically eradicates the element that necessitates for them to leave the house to begin with. And I think that's something that we're overlooking, because I feel like at least ngayon, the policies are always fear-mongering, and fear-mongering is a very unsustainable way of keeping people in tow. If you want to keep people in tow, if you want to keep people in their houses, you give them their needs. You deliver their needs to their houses, as opposed to them having to scour for those needs outside. So with human rights, sana, this policy could have been better. This policy could have been stronger, more effective.
Tama yan. Speaking of yung human rights, another human right, or another right natin na parang feeling ng mga tao ay nati-threaten is yung freedom and our right to express ourselves. So matanong ko lang, just historically, may what are some of the instances, ano yung mga kwento noon nung time ng mga heroes natin when a similar thing happened, when their right to speak and their right to express themselves was curtailed? Ano yung mga creative ways na ginawa nila? Ano yung mga kwento nung mga panahon na yon? May narinig ako, they were making art, or may mga messages sila na nilalagay sa yung lalagyan ng posporo, yung mga ganong klaseng kwento.
Ako ba muna?
Go ahead.
Gusto ba, Alfie? Sige, Alfie, okay lang. Go, Alfie.
Wala. Sobrang konti lang. I feel like all our, at least the heroes that we revere, all of them tend to be people who are very outspoken, were killed precisely because they were outspoken.
Yeah.
Like Jose Rizal wrote books and was killed. Andres Bonifacio wrote poetry, and Makibaka was killed. Pete Lacaba was imprisoned after writing, many things. But on top of that, Prometheus Bound, which was smuggled into state-sponsored journals, now becoming the perennially quoted pakikibaka, soundbite for pakikibaka. So I feel like there's a long history of the state trying to crack down on artist activists who are outspoken. But go ahead, Sir Xiao.
Yung mga tinatawag nating reklamador, Sila Rizal, reklamador yan, di ba? Si Bonifacio, reklamador yan, di ba? So, tama, no? But again, tama si Alfie doon, when you look at the time of martial law, ang daming creative ways na ginawa ng mga estudyante dyan. So, for example, again, suspended ang mga newspapers na hindi na critical sa government. So, what a lot of people did, including the Philippine Collegian, was to go underground and mimeograph. No, sorry sa mga millennials, at ako hindi ko na rin naabutan yan, yung mimeography. Xerox na kasi nung panahon ko, pero yung mimeograph po, ito yung parang duming papel na recycled, na piniprint, tapos napakaingay, parang typewritten. Mimeograph ang tawag doon. So, kahit napakaingay nun, at in fact, pagka yun ay ginamit yung machine na yun, pwede ka mahuli ng militar. Pero ginawa pa rin yun ng mga kabataan noon at dinidistribute. Dati, wala tayong internet. Pinapasa yung papel. No? So ipasa mo, pagkabasa mo, hindi mo itatago yun as souvenir. Ipapasa mo sa kabilang sa ibang tao. So eventually magkakaroon ng mga periodicate. So nagsisinungaling ang mga newspapers, hindi nagsasabi ng totoo. Yung mga tunay na balita ilalagay sa mga billboards. No? May mga maliliit na stickers noon na dinidilaan. Yun, tapos pupunta sa likod mo yon ilalagay, tapos nasa pader na Marcos resign, mga ganon.
Which is nangyayari din ngayon.
Yes. Yung pusa, halimbawa, palalakarin mo, lalagyan mo ng Marcos diktador. Yung things like that. instances na eventually very creative na kahit yung oblation run, that was a protest eh. So all of these things na ang Pilipino once na nagkakaroon ng hamon na malaki ay nagiging napakatalino at nag-respond talaga sa challenges ng kanyang panahon. So ako siguro ang makikita natin dito, we must never be watchful, but we must never lose faith in the Filipino. Dahil we always rise to the occasion. Every time, nasa history natin yan, all throughout our history, there are times that sometimes we're so disappointed with ourselves, let it be. But let us also have faith that in many of those struggles in our history, tayo po ay umangat at tayo naman ay nakalampas.
Ay, may natatandaan lang ako dun sa mga sinabi mo, Xiao, regarding how they would put up yung mga maliliit na messages na pasikreto. Kasi ngayon din, ang nangyayari din ngayon, may mga ganun na nangyayari ngayon online. Ang ginagawa naman ng mga tao, di ba? I'm sure, Alfie, you've seen this. They've made the rounds on Twitter, especially. Yung mga comedic na videos, and dinadaan nila sa comedy. Yung iba naman, dinadaan nila sa kunwari mag-unboxing kasi may bagong makeup na binili. So, i-unbox natin ito. Kasi ito yung concealer. Lalagay natin yung concealer dito, tatakpan natin to katulad ng pagtatakip ng mga ng gobyerno sa ano itong nangyayari. May mga ganun sila. May mga
Sino na nga ba yan?
Hahanapin ko. There are a few of them going around, right? So it is also ties into what Alfie said and what you also mentioned, Xiao, kanina, no, na kahit anong mangyari, ang Pilipino talagang nakakahanap ng paraan pag nasa-threaten yung kanilang mga karapatan, yung kanilang mga kalayaan. Nakakahanap talaga ng paraan. And like you guys mentioned, we already have a long history of that to base on and to speak of. So yes, the Filipino is indeed resilient and creative and endure. Ang taas ng endurance ng Pinoy in that particular diba? Teka. May mga wala naman silang dinagdag dito. May mga dagdag ba kayo, friends, sa ating chat group? Check ko lang. Okay,
may mga comments ba tayo?
Yan, sige. May mga comments na ba tayo? Wala pa ba? So anyway,
Kabuki daw. Well said, Alfonso, Slake Kabuki. At saka si Makoto Maru, Miss Chai daw. Mga idol nyo pala ito eh. Mga idol sa inyo. Oo.
Hello, maraming
salamat. Binabati ko rin yung mga nanonood sa atin, Sofia Beatriz Salvador. Ayan, maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood.
Ayun, donate po kayo. Again, ito po, ang Mamatay Kang Hayup na COVID ka, kung paano kayo pwede mag-donate. Nasa comment section lang, nakapin po. Kung paano kayo pwede mag-donate, pwede po sa BDO online at app deposits, pwede sa Paymaya, sa GCash. Kung paano, yung mga instructions nandun lang din sa comment section. Again, shout out lang natin yung mga tinutulungan natin. RITM, maraming salamat po sa trabaho ninyo. UPNIH din, Lung Center, and Philippine Genome Center. We're trying to raise funds for you guys. So yung mga nakikinig sa atin ngayon, please donate. Tulungan natin yung mga magigiting natin na mga frontliners while they defend us from COVID. Hindi nila tayo madedepensahan kung hindi natin sila tutulungan. Anong oras na ba? Check lang natin. Okay, sige.
Ngayon ay 4:52 p.m.
4:52. May nagta-type lang. Teka, hihintayin ko ito.
Ayan.
Alfie, question lang. Has this, as an artist, as a poet, has this situation compelled you to write anything yet?
Okay. Ito nangyayari sa akin personally, at sobrang dilemma ko siya kasi parang in the mental health sense, the situation is very paralyzing. It's very disarming. I cannot conjure something artistic, knowing that the world outside is collapsing, is on the brink of collapse. But on top of that, there's also a part of me who feels like any effort that I can do as an artist feels futile, because kung yung mga tao ay hindi pa rin mulat at ayaw pa rin tumulong in the face of everything that's already being flashed on the news, then my poetry can only go so far. I cannot convince more people using beautiful words if they're not convinced enough already by so much reality being flashed on the news. So meron din this feeling na uselessness. Na my art isn't going to obviously save the world and shouldn't be able to save the world. Kaya parang ngayon, parang I try to use, I guess, parang the most that poetry has done for me is that the people who know me for my poetry, meaning I am enabled and emboldened by my artistic background. And because of that platform that I gained because of my poetry, I use it to try to mobilize for donation drives, to try to mobilize for volunteers. I think that's the most that my art can contribute to my life right now in the grander context of this pandemic. Na parang gamitin ko na lang yung whatever platform I was given because of this art form to help in more practical, pragmatic ways. So no, certainly not compelled to write.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, Xiao.
Naalala ko lang yung lagi nating sinasabi sa Dakila na, of course, art will not save the world, will not change the world, but it can make people change the way they think of their world, and with that, they can act, no? Now, tama si Alfie, that we should be, circumspect, that we could have circumspection, introspection, that artists and people like me, academics, like historians and storytellers, we should be humble enough to realize that we cannot, change the world. We cannot change the world. What we do cannot change the world. Yet, we also should realize that every one person that will read us, will watch in our live videos, will hear our stories, each one of them is a candle. Lahat tayo ay kandila. At yung candle na yon, that candle, if you die, if that candle dies, of course, you will not inspire anyone. But if that candle continue to burn, he will inspire other people. So lahat tayo, we keep on inspiring others because all of us are candles. Then we should hope that just maybe, we could reach as much people as possible with the inspiration that we do. Of course, without saying na we are going to change the world. So let us not lose hope that what we do is worthwhile.
Yan. Ayan, tayo po ay 4:56 na. Huling, ngayong Holy Week. Wala, maingay, may dumadang supplies dito. Ngayong Holy Week, ngayong Holy Week, Xiao Chua, pero bago tayo magtapos, parang dahil Holy Week ngayon, Xiao Chua, meron ka bang panghuling salita ngayon?
Well, bago yung panghuling salita ko, i-recognize ko lang tong si Lyndon Santos. Art is the best way to appeal to someone's intellect and emotion. Very good, Lyndon. But anyway, I would like to, ako gusto kong ikunin natin tong panahon na ito na ang ganda ng Kwaresma, kasi Kwaresma means 40 days, tapos nasa quarantine tayo, which also came from the word 40 days.
40
so
days,
Kwaresma sa quarantina. Yung ating Holy Week break is actually now so long, no? And I hope na nakapag-isip-isip din tayo. But I'm kanina nga I was reflecting on the life of Christ. At doon mo makikita, Jesus Christ was a revolutionary, no? Kasi
artist.
Yes. And activist in a way, because not in a political sense, but in showing us that the message of goodness should be given to the people, not just to certain society, no? Hindi lang sa isang grupo ng tao. So, doon mo makikita na binigay niya yung ginhawa, yung kaligtasan sa maraming tao. And of course, his ultimate sacrifice was for them to demonstrate that to love is to suffer. To love is sometimes to be hurt. And yun kaya yung kamatayan ni Jesus talagang nasaktan ng Diyos dahil binigay niya yung anak niya. I mean, for people who believe in Christianity. Now, even if we don't look at it that way, you will see that, kapag nagmamahal ka talagang may time na masasaktan ka talaga. To love is to hurt, to be hurt. And kaya kapag nagmamahal ka sa bayan, talagang minsan masasaktan ka talaga. Kapag ikaw ay pinaglalaban mo ang bayan, minsan kahit yung minamahal mo, sinasaktan ka. Minsan yung ibang tao sa bayan, hindi nag-a-agree sa'yo. Pero kailangan, mahalin mo lang sila ng buong buo. Hindi perfecto ang bayan natin, hindi perfecto ang taong mga Pilipino, pero bayan natin ito at yan ang binigay sa atin ng Diyos. We just have to continue to love our country. Tulad ng sinasabi ni Andres Bonifacio, aling pag-ibig pa, ang hihigit kaya sa pagkadalisa at pagkadakila, gaya ng pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa, aling pag-ibig pa, wala na nga, wala.
Yan.
Ang ganda,
Maraming
Xiao.
salamat, Xiao Chua.
Thank you,
Alfie.
Xiao. Alfie, go.
Okay, short lang. Parang in the context of martyrdom, I do think that our frontliners are absolutely, without a doubt, heroes. But we should stop romanticizing this whole idea that they are heroes because there is heroism in their being potentially vulnerable to the possibility of death.
Yes.
Parang ang akin ay framing and contextualization is always important, and we need to make sure that our framing and the language that we use in describing them as heroes does not steer accountability away from the fact that it's the system that has compelled them to, over minimum wage, still show up at work and risk their lives. That's them being on an unfair system, and we need to be able to work towards changing that. Hopefully, after this whole pandemic, things will not be the same, meaning things will go back to normal in a way, but we will hopefully have better systems that protect our frontliners, that protect our poor people. And I think that's the more heroic thing to do, to be able to protect the ones who protect us. So yun lang.
Ika nga ni Jesu Cristo, what you do to the least of your brethren, you do unto me. Di ba? Huwag natin kakalimutan yan. Para sa mga tao na naniniwala ng Catholicism. Thank you very much, Alfie. June, dito na ba tapos ang Dakila hour natin for today? Oo, pero hindi pa tapos ang...
Tuloy-tuloy pa, no?
Oo nga
Kung gusto nyo pa ng mga iba pang discussion, baka mag-broadcast. Punta lang kayo sa Dakila, no? Mag-announce yan kung saan kayo mag-volunteer o kung meron pa bang tuloy-tuloy na discussion after neto. Ayan, magmerienda muna tayo.
Bago pala na tayo tuloy ang mag-say goodbye, may announcement tayo teka lang, scroll up ko yung ating chat group. No, may announcement tayo from Dakila na magiting na hinahanap ko. Teka lang, anong oras daw, guys? Anong oras daw, guys? Ilalabas yung video. Teka, hintayin natin sa chat. Madam Lenny. Anong oras daw ilalabas?
Hello po. Ayan. Anyway, tignan nyo na lang sa page ng Dakila. Ayan. Page ng Dakila.
May music video mamayang gabi. Various artists po ito. Tapos, anong tawag nito? If this is for Araw ng Kagitingan.
Basta gabi daw. Sabi ni Madam Lenny.
Gabi na lang. Follow Dakila.Philippines sa Facebook at saka sa Instagram and Twitter. Kami ay @Dakila_.
Ayan. At pwede rin kayong, kung gusto nyo magtanong kung paano ba kayo makakasali sa Dakila, magtanong lang po kayo doon lahat. Kasi lahat naman tayo ay Dakila. Ayan. Maraming salamat po. Babalik kami mamaya konti. Bigyan nyo lang kami ng mga 5 minuto. I-restart lang natin to lahat. At ang bisita naman natin dito sa Mamatay Kang Hayup ang COVID ka ay si Beauty Gonzales. Ayan, maraming salamat sa mga Dakila, sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, June. Thank you din, June. Thank you, Alfie. Thank you, Xiao. Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Xiao. Bye-bye.
Die! COVID, die!